Well, g'day there, guys. My name is Phillip Wong, and these are the support session recordings that place the face-to-face recordings because I haven't forgotten about our online students and I want to make sure that you guys are sufficiently covered. So here's the online version that is made specifically for you. So week by week, these support sessions only go for 6 weeks and they cover week 2 through to week 7. And you can see that the support workshops really only cover the financial reporting aspect of this course. So we won't be covering budgets and we won't be covering ratios. It's really just about the debits and credits and getting you to see how these all fit together as an entire system. Now, I want you to understand that these support workshops are something of an experiment, and as the recording did not really work the first time round, I'm trying out new things. And so that means that things are going to go, well, sometimes unexpectedly, because it is, after all, an experiment. We won't do transaction analysis. I don't really like the way the textbook uses transaction analysis in order to teach debits and credits. Instead, I'd rather just straight out teach debits and credits and get back to, well, what's on the examination. But you know, I'm trying something different here. You'll see that sometimes I teach things backwards. So I'm going to start with the trial balance and I'm going to teach ledgers and then on to journals and then back to events. Whereas most of the time people would just go in a straight line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to start at step 4, which is the trial balance. You'll see that some of the things that I teach are slightly out of order of the main lectures. And that's because inside the support workshops, things make a lot of sense, but outside, because I'm sort of a little bit unhappy with the way that the lectures are structured at this stage, then the main lectures might introduce something before or after the support workshops. Just remember that the support workshops are conducted somewhat separately of the lectures, but they're supposed to cover the same content. That means occasionally I will stray into areas that are not strictly onto the examination. I will go a little bit further, such as balance day adjustments, which are definitely on the examination, but I will also talk about opening and closing entries, which you will cover in your next course, but will not strictly be on this examination. And I will try to point that out as we go. But the idea here is to try something new. Also, I want you to understand that some of these materials are being adapted on the fly as they meet this course. Now, I've been using this particular system for many years, but it's always been within tutorial rooms and not exactly designed for an online audience. So that means that I'm developing some of these materials on a week-by-week basis. So the question is, does this make me look a little bit unprofessional? I guess maybe it does, but I want you to understand that this is a really different approach to learning accounting. Now, if you've ever tried to learn a language before, and my wife is Vietnamese, I've been trying to learn this stupid Vietnamese language for the last 7 years, and it's frustrating because it's such a beautiful but complex language. It took me 6 months to pick up Spanish, but Spanish uses, well, a lot of the words in English are similar to Spanish. But Vietnamese, it's just by rote. You've just got to learn it by rote. There is just no other way to learn it. And oftentimes you'll hear the same thing said about accounting. And the teacher will say something silly like, don't try to make sense of it, just learn it. Debits are on the left, credits on the right. They don't mean anything, just shut up and learn it. And I really disagree with it. I think that this is something of a dad answer, such as, why did they build the Great Wall of China? Well, because there were too many rabbits. That's sort of a dad answer. And quite frankly, I think it's kind of a nonsense answer. We can do better. So I'm going to try and teach you double entry accounting using color-coded Play-Doh. So the key idea here is the pedagogy that's underpinning this method. There are 4 basic steps to it. First off, we're going to deal with a physical shape, which is done in Play-Doh, which is a little bit difficult given that I know that you're an online student watching this rather than physically in the classroom, but moving on, it was designed for a classroom. Once students have touched a shape and they have some context, then it makes some sense when I draw shapes on the whiteboard using my 5 color markers. Then I say to the students, okay, here is the transaction. I want you to get your 5 color pens and I want you to write out the transaction, the debit credit part, using the color coded pens. And eventually I noticed that the students stop using the color-coded pens. They just go, Mr. Wong, can we just use black pen because, I know what I'm doing. And at that point, my friends, I know that they have internalized accounting. So a good example of this is if you were to purchase a truck on credit, I would first off show you on using a balance scale, a Play-Doh truck with the equivalent amount of red debt, and then I would simply draw the shapes on the whiteboard. Then I would ask the students to pick out their red pen and their blue pen. The blue pen would be the asset, and then they would have to write out the journal entry. The red pen would be the liability. And you will also notice that not only am I getting the students to color code things, but in brackets there I also have asset go up and liability go up, which is reminding the students about which one of these elements they're working with every time they write a journal entry and what it's actually doing. Now, eventually, you don't need these crutches. You don't need this scaffolding anymore. The scaffolding will fall off, and in the examination, you'll be asked to perform black and white accounting, which is stage 4 there. Debit truck, $46,000. Credit finance loan, $46,000. When you've gotten to that point and you've internalized the system of accounting, congratulations, you're there. But the whole point of this color-coded system is to simply make it easier on you to learn.